والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam wa rasulullah. You're watching Lifting the Fog, the series dealing with the subject of clearing up the misconceptions, misunderstandings, and misrepresentations referring to Islam and everything that Islam presents. My name's Yusuf Estes, and for the next few minutes in this segment, we'll be dealing with the subject of some of the words used in the Quran and how to better explain ourselves and what we mean by what we say. I'd like to begin by mentioning that in real life, people really do come up to you and say some rather bizarre things, and sometimes they ask questions that are actually having statements in the question. And sometimes they're pretty harsh. And what can we do about that? What we're suggesting is to follow the minhaj or methodology of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be upon him. And that is to remember all the time that you have a responsibility to Allah to always present yourself and your answers to these questions in the best possible light. Keeping that in mind, we remember that our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was the epitome of kindness, gentleness, and a real gentleman in every aspect. Even when people were crude and rude to him, even abusing him, even injuring him, we found that he would be the very best in responding and replying to the people. So in the same way, we as Muslims today have this responsibility to do the same thing. We're going to be talking about this throughout the segment today, and along the way, I think you'll be able to pick up on what we're talking about. Now, here's an example of exactly what we're talking about. Someone comes to you and they say, "How come you Muslims thinks your religion is the only one? How come you don't believe other people can go to paradise? Why do you think that your religion's right and nobody else's is right?" Well, that's a good example and it's a good question. What we can do in this case is to do as we should in every case, and that's let them know that we care about them. And we say to them, "Thank you for asking me about my religion." And smile. And they'll say, "Huh?" Because they were trying to start a fight. And here you are saying something nice. So when you start this way, they kind of relax a little bit and go, "Oh, what?" In Islam, we must always tell the truth, because this is a very important part of our way in Islam. We must speak the truth. Allah tells us in the Quran, "Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu wattaqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida." Allah has told us in the Quran that if you're really a believer, then you should listen up, because He's telling you, always speak the truth. This is very, very important. Have taqwa for Allah, which means that you're going to be a pious, God-fearing person, and speak the truth, knowing that He's listening at all times. With that in mind, I want to return back to this specific question when they talk about what is this religion that we have that we think it's the only right one. Continuing with that, you say, also we have the proof. We can prove what we're saying because everything about Islam has been documented, preserved, authenticated, and it's available today for us. And the same is true for the Quran and the Hadith. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with something that we call complete deen. And that's actually the word referred to in the Quran when Allah says, "Inna deena indallahil Islam." Unfortunately, the translators, limited on words in the English vocabulary, have been forced to come up with the translation something like this. And usually this is what it would say, that the religion with Allah is Islam. Now what does that mean? It sounds like Allah has a religion. And that really doesn't make a lot of sense. Some of the others, when we look at the verse in the same surah, it's in Surah Al-Imran, verse 85, وَمَمْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا فَلَا يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And in this case, they translate that one to say that whoever seeks a religion other than Islam, then Allah is not going to accept from them, and in the hereafter they're going to be with the losers. There's another verse we find in Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse 3. In there it says, Al-yawmal akmaltu lakum dinukum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum Islam ad-dina. And again, they make a translation using the word religion. And it says that God is saying, on this day I have perfected your religion for you and conferred my favor on you and have chosen for you the religion of Islam. Well, it's not really wrong, but it doesn't present the message in the best possible way. The reason is because English is limited. It doesn't really have a word for Islam. Just as English doesn't really have a word for Allah, and then we substitute God, and we run into some of those problems, as we mentioned in an earlier segment. And in the same way, we realize that there's no word in English for this, Islam. So we have to really come up with the meaning of it, then it makes better sense. Because, see, the question that they ask us is, why do you think only your religion is right? How come these other religions don't work? Also, when we talk to an atheist, he says, I don't believe in any religion at all. They're all man-made. I believe there's a God. This would be not an atheist. He'd be an agnostic. Somebody believes in God, but he doesn't believe in any religion. He says, this is what's destroyed mankind, is to have these religions. This man said this man said that, and so and so. So here's what we do. Now, go slow, step by step. The word, the operative word being used in the Quran is always the same word. The word is deen. And the translators are saying religion. It's not totally wrong, but it's not the best word. And I'll show you why. I want to take you to another verse in the Quran. And those of you who have memorized this, you know it. Lakum dinukum waliya deen. You heard the word twice in this ayah. Who is this talking to? These are non-believers. Allah Almighty is talking here to the believers, telling them what to say and how to respond to those who are the disbelievers. You say to them, you go to your deen and I'll go to my deen. Well, what is deen? And again, if we use the word religion, you're going to have a problem, because that's that's for a disbeliever. What if he doesn't have a religion? What if he's an atheist, a mulhid? In this case, he's using the wrong word. He doesn't have a religion. If you told him, do you your religion, me my religion, he'd say, what religion? I don't have one. So that's why we use the word way. It's not the best substitute either, but it comes closer maybe to the meaning, but it needs explanation. When we say way, we mean the whole way of life. What you do and who you are, what you're all about, and as they say in America, they'll say, and what's up with you? So what's up with you in your way, what you're doing? This is this word deen. And we understand from this, now when we go back and look, that this is a lot more than just a religion. Religions are, as some have accused them to be, man-made. But when we talk about deen, it's not man-made. That's why Allah said, Al-yawmul akmaltu lakum dinakum. It is Allah who has perfected this deen, and He's perfected it for us as a favor. And we understand this word deen then to be a way of life, a complete and holistic approach to the existence of the human being here on earth. Now we'll go back and look at those same verses again, using the word deen with this understanding, and see what happens. Inna dina indallahi al-Islam. Now, instead of saying religion, we'll say way of life. Watch how it changes this. It makes it easier for the person to understand. Indeed, the only way of life Allah is going to accept is for you to submit to Him in His terms. Because now we're going to also translate this word, which is Islam. We're not going to leave that in the Arabic either. We're going to say submission to God on His terms. Because the combination of deen and Islam being used together needs for us to be more elaborate, and then we don't have the misunderstanding that very often occurs when people say, your religion and my religion, what makes one better than the other? What we're saying here is, this is what Allah has prescribed, a way of life in submission to His terms. Now, when we come to the next verse, it becomes even more clear. Watch this. When we say, وَمَمْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا, for sure, Allah is saying here, that whoever wants a deen, a way of life, other than what Allah has constructed for them, what He's ordered them to do, then He's not going to accept it. And then in the hereafter, they're going to be with the losers. Now, we understand that a little bit different now than we did before by using the word religion. It becomes more clear to us. And now let's go back one more time and look at the words in Surah Al-Ma'idah, when Allah says, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. Here Allah says, on this day have I perfected your complete way of life for you. I've conferred my favor on you and have chosen for you to live and die in complete and total submission, surrender, and obedience to my commands that I've laid out for you, and you call it submission or Islam. Now, I realize in the beginning it takes a little bit of time to understand, and in some cases it may be difficult for you to lay it all out. But this is why we have a chance for you to use the internet websites that we have, and we suggest that you use that as a tool to back up what we're saying here. Ask the people to go and check this out for themselves. We have a number of websites out there, and there'll be coming here in the program. We are watching Huda TV, by the way, and we'd like to encourage you to always watch here with us, because this is something that you can come to on a daily basis and pick up more segments of this series, the series on lifting the fog, and also other series that we've been doing. We want to encourage you to utilize this over and over. If you haven't done so already, you might consider recording some of these programs so you can play them back at your leisure, and then use this as a tool. And remember this, it's not for you to guide the people, but it is for you to try your best to communicate the message in simple terms that they can understand. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back after this.
My name is Sharif Tuni, and this is brought to you from Huda TV. In today's edition, we'll be discussing about the day and night.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala equated the samawat with darkness, the firmament with darkness, and equated the earth with light. Why? Are there really pillars that cannot be seen?
Or is it an unseen pillar?
Everything is running, but the relationships are fixed.
Yes.
So that it would appear to people as if nothing is running, you see. We are destroying our environment with our own hands. And that's why the Quran says, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا لعلهم يرجعون.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah. We've been talking on the subject of the word deen, and we've been explaining that this word is better translated to the English language as a concept, as a complete way of life. And we've explained that when Allah uses this term in the Quran, He's referring to the way of life of a human being. And every human being has a way of life. So when Allah says that the deen that's only going to be acceptable with Him is Islam, and Islam